John Shorley, the referee. We got ringside tables, the buckets of popcorn, a Friday night out in Laredo. John Shorley, interestingly enough, came up to me and said, hey, it's nice to start a new decade with you guys. I actually did the very first fight of the last decade back on January 7th, 2000 on Friday Night Fights. So Shorley, once every 10 years, we're good for John Shorley.
Well, Guereca has lost 4 of his last 5. He only has 12 amateur fights, and he's fighting somebody in Andrade who has well over 200 amateur fights. So this fight does not figure to be real competitive when it's all said and done. We'll see if we're surprised.
Guereca came charging to the inside, and Andrade was able to get away from that 3-punch combination. Back now to the right jab for the southpaw.
Guereca, if he doesn't have enough problems, he turned pro as a smaller man, 135 pounds. Most of the fights at welterweight, moved up to junior middleweight in his last 7 fights. And Andrade, well, he's been a junior middleweight his entire career, and he's only 21 years old, so he's still filling out.
Trying to wrap up as Guereca charged forward.
Look for the uppercut from Andrade. He throws a really vicious uppercut from that southpaw stance. As you can see, we have 2 southpaws in front of us here. Guereca can switch a little bit. If he wants to, he can go to the orthodox position too.
He's a natural lefty, but he does switch it up, as you noted. We've already seen that at moments today.
And again, look for the body attack of Andrade. He's a good body punching. You can see there's some loose flesh in the body of Guereca.
That didn't take long. Halfway through the first round, Andrade went on the attack, and Guereca went down.
7, 8, 9.
These are not the kind of fights that will improve your fighter. They will improve the record, but not the fighter. Andrade now 9-0, undefeated, and still untested.
That's been the wrap for Demetrius Andrade, is the level of competition.
You know, if I can say before a fight that it's not going to be competitive, then you know what? Obviously, to Andrade, people know that going in. I know that you're going to make the argument, well, Teddy's a young guy. Let him get, you know, his fill of light menu, light fare. Let him get a liquid diet a little bit, so to speak. But when you have over 200 amateur fights and you've been fighting the best in the world internationally in the amateurs, you just don't have to fight these kind of fighters. And I don't think it brings the best out in you by fighting these kind of fighters. I don't think it asks the questions that have to be asked. I'm not saying put them in real tough. I'm not putting them in with Godzilla. I'm not putting them in over his head. But I'm just saying, let him fight the kind of guys that will help him develop. Ask some questions to him during the course of a fight and let him become what is there for him to become. Doing this, sometimes you can regress a little bit.
Well, let's see how Demetrius Andrade pulled this off against Guereca.
Well, again, we talked about he could fight inside, he could fight outside, he could go to the body. He has a good uppercut. You see here, he's taking little steps back, counter right hook. And it was a counter right hook. And what I got to give Andrade credit for, watch here. Those punches don't land, but he takes a little step back, and there it is, the right hook around the ear. And he set that up nice, Andrade. That's all that amateur experience. He's technically sound, and that's why I like him as a prospect. He took little steps back. He gave himself room. He did not allow Guereca to smother him, and he set up room for that punch.
Let's send it up to the ring to Mike Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, the official time, 1 minute 18 seconds into round number 1. The winner by knockout victory and still undefeated, Demetrius USS Destroyer Andrade.
Well, Demetrius Andrade, of the criticism of this level of progression, he says, you know, I want to take my time. I want to do this right. His father, Paul, says this is the only sport we want to rush people. They have every right to fight who they want to fight. We have every right to not put it on TV if we don't like the matchup, though, right?
Yeah, that's right, but we put it on. So hopefully you like that knockout.
Let's send it back to the studio.